What's up guys, I am the last Roman, today I bring you the eccentric Roman Emperor Tiberius. Tiberius was the son of Livia, the third wife of Augustus, and her previous husband. He later became the stepson of Augustus. On the first day of his reign as Roman emperor, Tiberius said, "I don't want to be the Roman emperor, whoever wants to be, can be." The senators around him were equally unyielding, saying, "We can do without this emperor." There are many biases towards emperors, either they are skilled in military strategy or they are excessively indulgent. I think Tiberius is the emperor who is closest to an ordinary person and the one who least wants to be emperor. From the first day of his reign, he did not get along well with the senators. Early life. During his childhood, Tiberius lived under the shadow of civil war. It was not until he was 19 years old that he became the financial officer under the arrangement of Augustus. On his first day as a financial officer, he showed a keen talent for numbers. During this period, Tiberius solved the problem of food supply in Rome and received widespread praise. It must be said that he was a born financial officer, which can even be seen during his reign as emperor. His experience as a financial officer also influenced his policies of reducing government spending and public budgets during his reign. He cut a large amount of unnecessary expenses, especially the gladiatorial games and the emperor's gifts of money, which the entire Rome considered to be extremely boring. At the age of 23, Tiberius was sent by Augustus to the eastern Mediterranean under the command of Agrippa. He participated in military campaigns to enhance his qualifications and resolve the issue of the Armenian kingdom. Tiberius led his army in swift raids and suppressions, impressing the Armenian king with his remarkable achievements in battle. The king willingly sent his own child to Rome as a hostage. The problem of the Armenian kingdom was resolved satisfactorily and Tiberius demonstrated his exceptional military talent. During his 14-year military career, he suppressed the rebellion in Pannonia, defeated Germanic tribes in the northern Alps, and incorporated the region of Rhaetia into the Roman Empire. These achievements laid the foundation for Tiberius to become the Roman emperor in the future. Augustus had great affection for his stepson and convinced the Senate to grant Tiberius the power of a tribune. Tiberius became superior to all but one, standing side by side with Augustus's grandson and heir, Gaius and Lucius. Retirement. However, Tiberius did not like Augustus's arrangement. This was the first time he chose to resign and give up his high-paying job and glamorous life in the first-tier city of Rome. He disregarded everything and ran to the island of Rhodes to start his secluded life. If Tiberius lived in modern times, he would start a YouTube channel to share his leisurely life and the scenic views of the island. Of course, Tiberius's seclusion may have been due to various reasons, such as fearing the suspicion of the heir Gaius and Lucius and avoiding suspicion, or having an unhappy marriage with Augustus's daughter Julia. During his tenure, Augustus actively promoted the marriage law, punishing adultery. Adulterers not only had to forfeit 1/3 of their property, but they were also exiled for life and could no longer marry Roman citizens. The old emperor could not have predicted that his own daughter would become the target of this law. Julia's affair with her lover became known to the entire Roman population, and Augustus was in a difficult position and had to personally intervene. Although he did not personally send his daughter to prison, he personally exiled her to the island of Pandateria. The reason Tiberius became emperor was because of Augustus's insistence. The issue of succession had always been a headache for Augustus. During his seclusion, all the designated successors chosen by Augustus had passed away one after another, leaving Tiberius as Augustus's only choice. Through Augustus's relentless efforts, he finally had someone to succeed him and designated Tiberius as his heir. Regardless, Tiberius finally lived the secluded life he had longed for. However, his secluded life on the island of Rhodes not only did not make him feel tired, but instead made him yearn for it during his subsequent reign. At the summons of Augustus, he reluctantly returned to Rome. Ascension to the throne. At the age of 36, Tiberius became the heir to the Roman Empire, enjoying the powers of sacrifice, governance, and protection of the people. 8 years later, at the age of 44, he became the emperor of the Roman Empire. During his time as heir, he successfully suppressed the rebellion in the Germanic region and triumphantly returned to Rome. However, he did not boast about his achievements. Perhaps it was because Augustus saw himself in Tiberius and greatly favored his stepson, granting him the position of co-ruling emperor. After the death of Augustus, according to his will, Tiberius was supposed to succeed as the Roman emperor. However, when the will was read, he immediately chose to refuse. In addition, Augustus left 1/3 of his property to his daughter Livia in his will, which allowed her to obtain the title of Augusta. Tiberius strongly opposed this due to his strained relationship with his mother. As time went on, Tiberius grew to resent his mother's political position, especially the imperial title that came from her bloodline. He even did not attend his mother's funeral after her death, causing all of Rome to view him as a heartless person. Perhaps at this time, he was thinking of returning to Rhode Island to continue his secluded life. However, things did not go as he wished, and under the pressure of the elders, he chose to fulfill his promise to Otho. In Tiberius's eyes, the position of emperor was like that of a slave, while Rhode Island was his paradise of freedom. During his reign, Tiberius had multiple conflicts with the elders. He was determined to implement good policies, but his lack of eloquence made it difficult for him to coordinate with the elders. He believed that the elders resisted his policies, which hindered his governance. On the other hand, the elders believed that he was stubborn and obstinate. This gradually intensified the conflict between him and the Senate. He considered the elders' proposals to be unreasonable and even absurd, which made him despise and detest Roman affairs. At the age of 64, he began to delegate political affairs to his son Drusus. However, just a year later, Drusus passed away, leaving Tiberius heartbroken. This is why he was unwilling to handle state affairs anymore and entrusted them to his trusted Praetorian Guard general, Sejanus. In the end, he exiled himself to the small island of Capri in southwestern Italy. Suspicion. The catalyst for Tiberius's move to Capri must be traced back to the death of Germanicus, who was a direct blood relative of Augustus and, theoretically, the rightful heir to the throne. From a bloodline perspective, he was more suitable to inherit the throne than Tiberius. Not to mention, Germanicus was known for his integrity and was a celebrated hero of the Roman war against the Germans, earning him fame and support both in the Senate and among the people. There was even a mutiny among the German legions, with soldiers wanting to crown Germanicus with the purple robe. Germanicus had to falsely issue an imperial decree, promising the soldiers rewards and early retirement, which fueled Tiberius's suspicion and dissatisfaction. Out of suspicion and concern, Tiberius transferred Germanicus to Syria, placing him under the surveillance of the governor Piso. However, Germanicus suddenly died shortly after his arrival in the east, leading the Romans of that time and future generations to believe that Tiberius had instructed Piso to act. Coup. The life of Tiberius on the island has sparked endless speculation from outsiders. Historian Tacitus, for example, believed that Tiberius lived a debauched life on the island. However, as Tacitus's famous theory of the Tacitus trap suggests, once an emperor becomes disliked, everything he does will be criticized, let alone Tiberius, who did as he pleased. The leader of the Praetorian Guard, Sejanus, sought Tiberius's trust as a means to seize power and arrogantly used Tiberius's name to dispose of senators on charges of treason, which caused dissatisfaction among the Senate. It can be said that this is also one of the important reasons for Tiberius's poor reputation. Sejanus even plotted to usurp the throne, but fortunately Tiberius discovered this problem in time and immediately took action. He found Macron, the second in command of the Praetorian Guard, and tempted him with the position of the leader of the Praetorian Guard. Under Tiberius's instructions, Macron quickly launched an operation against Sejanus, taking advantage of Sejanus's lack of preparedness. Macron brought Tiberius's secret order to the Praetorian Guard camp and promised rewards to the soldiers. With Macron's maneuvering, the Praetorian Guard quickly turned against Sejanus. Sejanus went from being a powerful figure to a prisoner overnight, while Macron replaced Sejanus as Tiberius's spokesperson. However, if one simply assumes that Tiberius would return to Rome, they would be greatly mistaken. He returned to his life of seclusion. Crown Prince. After Tiberius grew old, he also faced the issue of succession. There were two candidates before him. Caligula, the grandson of Germanicus, and his own grandson Gaius. Initially, he leaned towards Gaius, but he was still a child at that time. Caligula noticed Tiberius's hesitation and actively courted Macro, promising him generous rewards for himself and the Praetorian Guard. In the end, persuaded by Macro, he chose the future tyrant, Caligula. After settling this matter, Tiberius continued his retirement in his estate until his old age. During his reign, Tiberius harbored suspicions towards the senators and other potential heirs, resulting in the execution of numerous political enemies, as well as cuts in public and welfare spending. On the day of Tiberius's death, the Roman people took to the streets, shouting, "Throw Tiberius into the Tiber River." Contradictions. Tiberius was a contradictory figure. In the writings of the Republican historian Tacitus, Tiberius was portrayed as hypocritical, cruel, and debauched. However, in the 19th century, Theodore Mommsen depicted Tiberius as a wise ruler, skilled in recognizing talent and governing the state. During his reign, Tiberius did not expand the empire or implement major reforms. He practiced a policy of non-interference, allowing the entire empire to recuperate. The treasury flourished, with the copper coinage increasing from 200 million under Augustus to 3.3 billion. Although he may not have achieved the same accomplishments as Augustus in building the empire, Tiberius cannot be labeled a tyrant. As an ordinary person, he did his best during his tenure. I once saw a post that said, if a person, when facing difficulties, chooses not to face them head-on, but instead fantasizes about retreating to the mountains and forests, it actually means that their heart is already unable to face the heavy pressure of reality. In fact, the life of Tiberius is also the life that every ordinary person is experiencing. We have the responsibility bestowed upon us by heaven to become children, parents, workers, and entrepreneurs. When facing difficult interpersonal relationships, sometimes we often have the thought of running away and isolating ourselves. Looking back at the life of Tiberius, in his youth, he joined the military, made achievements, and in his old age, he retired gracefully and enjoyed his later years, fully indulging in his own life. Just as Aurelia said, where my heart is at peace is my home, we don't have to choose a lonely island to place our souls, but rather choose to become a comforting island for others.